In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to do turkey work. Start by bringing your needle down from the top of your hoop, leaving a tail. Now we'll anchor our tail to our hoop. Bring your needle up just to the left of your first stitch. And then back down just to the right. This straight stitch anchors our tail. Later, when we're trimming and fluffing, this will prevent our stitches from falling out. Bring your needle back up through the hole you made from that first stitch. Bring your needle back down the same distance as the straight stitch you used to anchor your first tail and leaving a loop. Bring your needle back up through the hole created by your first straight stitch, and then bring your needle down just to the right of your loop. This creates a second straight stitch which anchors your loop to your fabric just like we anchored that initial tail. You'll repeat these steps until your entire shape is filled with loops. It does take a bit of time and patience, not to mention floss, to fill in an area using this stitch, but you really can't beat the resulting texture. I'm speeding up the video at this point because, again, this takes forever. I think it took me about 45 minutes total to fill in this small space. Once you have the steps down, create a loop, anchor with a straight stitch, repeat. It's pretty simple, it just takes some patience. You'll see me start to fill in the circle here in a second. You could also go ahead and trim at this point before moving on to the inner stitches. I show what I mean by that in the blog, but really either way works fine. My loops are also super long in this demonstration. If you aren't wanting to end up with as much waste, you can use a pin to help you secure shorter loops. That's an alternative I also show in the blog post for this stitch. If you do end up with long loops and a lot of waste, I have a blog post with ideas for what to do with those thread scraps. Now the fun begins. Use your scissors to cut each loop. Now I'm going to grab an eyebrow brush and use that to start separating my floss. If you don't have an eyebrow brush handy, you can use the eye of your needle to begin gently combing out your floss. Once I've started to tame it, I'll start trimming it down into shape. This also takes a bit of time, but it's super fun, so I'm fine with it. At this point, I'm just slowly cutting it down and fluffing it out until I get it closer and closer to the shape that I want. At this point, it's close to the shape I'm wanting, but I'm noticing a few gaps. If you notice gaps, you can always go back and add more loops. You can see here that I still wasn't satisfied, so I added even more loops. The rest of this video is me continuing to fluff out and trim my shape. Like I mentioned before, I have a blog post for this stitch. I know sometimes it helps to have written instructions as well as a video demonstration, especially with a stitch like this, but I do hope that this has been helpful to you.